I spent 20 years defending our country, and my own son told me I was too old to attend his wedding. So I bought the entire wedding venue and made sure he never forgot it. The summer heat pressed against the windows of my small apartment in Phoenix, Arizona, as I sorted through a stack of old photographs. 23 years of military service had taught me about sacrifice, resilience, and the true meaning of family. I was Samantha Rodriguez, a retired Marine Corps Master Sergeant who had served multiple tours in Afghanistan and Iraq, earned 2 Bronze Stars, and raised my son Marcus as a single mother. My fingers traced the edges of a photo from Marcus's high school graduation. Back then, we had been inseparable. I remembered how proud I was, watching him walk across that stage, the first in our family to go to college. Those years hadn't been easy. After my husband Jorge died in a construction accident when Marcus was just 7, I became both mother and father. I worked night shifts at the VA hospital while completing my military service, ensuring Marcus never went without. The phone call came on a Tuesday afternoon, interrupting my quiet routine of sorting through memories. Marcus's voice was distant, clinical, a tone I'd never heard from my son before. "Mom, I need to talk to you about the wedding," he began, his words carefully measured. I could hear his fiancée, Olivia, mumbling something in the background. "Of course," I replied, sensing something was off. "What's happening?" There was a long pause. "Olivia and I have been discussing the guest list," Marcus said, his tone growing more uncomfortable. "And we've made a decision that might be difficult for you to understand." My military training had taught me to read between the lines, to recognize the approach of bad news. I remained silent, waiting. "We don't think it would be appropriate for you to attend the wedding," he finally said. The words hung in the air, sharp and cold. "Olivia's family is very traditional, and they're concerned about having a veteran with your background at the ceremony." I knew exactly what he meant. My service records showed multiple deployments, combat experience that had left invisible scars. The nightmares, the memories I'd worked hard to process through therapy, these were the things Marcus and Olivia wanted to sweep under the rug. "Your service makes people uncomfortable," Marcus continued. "We think it's best if you don't attend. We'll send you photographs afterward." The dismissal was complete. 23 years of service, of sacrificing my youth, my marriage, my personal comfort, reduced to something to be hidden away, an embarrassment to be managed. I remembered the countless nights I'd spent away from home, the birthdays and holidays, missed, the constant worry of whether I'd return from my next deployment. I thought about the friends I'd lost, the young soldiers I'd helped guide through some of the most challenging moments of their lives. And now, my own son was telling me I was too damaged, too broken to be part of his most important day. My mind drifted to the support group for veterans I attended. Many of us had similar stories, families who didn't understand, who saw our service as a burden rather than a badge of honor. We had fought for freedoms that some of our own families seemed unwilling to acknowledge. The next few weeks were a blur of emotions. I cycled through anger, grief, and a profound sense of betrayal. Marcus had always been distant since returning from college, but this felt different. This was a complete rejection of everything I represented. I began investigating the wedding venue. Not out of spite, but out of a methodical determination that had served me well during my military career. The wedding was set to take place at the Silverleaf Club, an exclusive event space in Scottsdale. Preliminary research revealed it was privately owned, with the property recently listed for sale. My military pension and savings, carefully managed over years, suddenly seemed like more than just a retirement fund. They were a potential weapon of last resort. I contacted a real estate agent, a fellow veteran who understood the unspoken language of those who had served. "I want to make an offer on the Silverleaf Club," I told him, my voice steady and calm. "Immediately." The agent was surprised but professional. We discussed market value, potential renovation costs, and the unique positioning of the property. Within weeks, I had made an offer that was impossible to refuse. Marcus called again, this time furious. "What are you doing? Why are you buying the venue?" I simply responded, "We'll discuss this later," and hung up. The chess game had begun, and for the first time in months, I felt truly alive. My military training had prepared me for strategic maneuvers far more complex than this family drama. I wasn't just a mother being pushed aside. I was a warrior who understood the art of strategic intervention. Little did Marcus know, this was just the beginning of a plan that would reshape everything he thought he understood about family, respect, and the true meaning of sacrifice. The property transfer wasn't just a financial transaction. It was a strategic maneuver that would change everything. As the new owner of the Silverleaf Club, I began to understand the intricate web of relationships and expectations that had been building around Marcus's wedding. Olivia's family was old money from Scottsdale, the kind of wealthy clan that viewed military service as something done by other people. They had specific expectations for Marcus, a carefully curated image of success that didn't include a combat veteran mother with visible scars and a complicated past. I dove into the venue's records, a habit from my years of military intelligence work. Every document told a story. The club had been a networking hub for Arizona's elite, a place where business deals were made over cocktails and handshakes. Marcus had chosen this venue not just for its beauty, but for its symbolic value, a statement of his arrival in a world far removed from our humble beginnings. My investigation revealed more than just venue details. I discovered that Marcus had been lying about his career trajectory. The prestigious consulting job he'd bragged about was nothing more than an entry-level position at a mid-tier firm. His fiancée's family had been subsidizing their lifestyle, paying for the expensive apartment, the luxury car, the social appearances. The more I uncovered, the more I realized this wasn't just about a wedding. This was about erasure. My son's attempt to completely rewrite his own history, to cut out the parts he found inconvenient or embarrassing. I remembered the day Marcus first told me he wanted to become a consultant. I had been proud, thinking about how far we'd come. Single-handedly raising a son, working multiple jobs, ensuring he had every opportunity I didn't. Now I saw the truth. He wasn't climbing the social ladder. He was desperately trying to escape our past. My phone rang. It was my sister Elena, the only family member who truly understood my journey. "Have you lost your mind?" she asked, only half joking. "Buying an entire wedding venue?" I explained my plan, methodical and precise. Elena listened, understanding dawning in her voice. We had both learned survival. She as an immigrant, me as a female veteran in a male-dominated military. We knew the value of strategic patience. "He's trying to erase you," Elena said quietly. "Not just from the wedding, but from his entire narrative." She was right. Marcus wanted a sanitized version of his origin story, one without the struggles, without the single mother who fought tooth and nail to give him every opportunity. The wedding was his ultimate performance, a public declaration of his transformed identity. I began to make discreet inquiries. The wedding was set to cost nearly $250,000, a sum that would cripple Marcus financially. His future in-laws were covering most of the expense, but with strings attached. They wanted a perfect performance of upper-class sophistication. My military contacts proved invaluable. A fellow veteran who worked in private investigation helped me gather more information. Marcus had been living a carefully constructed lie, presenting himself as more successful than he was, borrowing money from Olivia's family, creating an elaborate facade. The venue purchase was just my opening move. I wasn't interested in destruction. I wanted accountability. Each step was calculated, each decision made with the precision of a military operation. I discovered the venue had some structural issues, outdated electrical systems, potential zoning complications. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to create complications. As the new owner, I had certain rights and could implement necessary renovations. Marcus called again, his voice a mixture of anger and desperation. "Mom, what are you doing? Why are you buying the venue?" I kept my response measured. "We'll discuss this later." The real work was just beginning. I contacted several veteran support organizations explaining my situation. They were intrigued, not just by my story, but by the potential to highlight the challenges veterans face with family dynamics and societal expectations. A local journalist who specialized in veteran stories became interested. She saw the broader narrative, how veterans are often marginalized, how their service is reduced to a footnote in family histories. My plan wasn't about revenge. It was about creating visibility, about forcing a conversation that my son and his soon-to-be in-laws had been desperately trying to avoid. I would not be erased. I would not be forgotten. As the wedding date approached, the tension grew. Marcus's attempts to contact me became more frequent, more desperate. Olivia's family began to realize that their carefully planned event might be more complicated than they had anticipated. Tiwat, venue, with its pristine white walls and manicured gardens, would become more than just a location. It would become a statement about service, about family, about the true meaning of sacrifice. I sat in my small apartment, surrounded by military, commendations, photographs of fallen comrades, memories of a life dedicated to service. This was not about winning or losing. This was about truth. This was about respect. The next move was theirs. But I was ready. Always ready. 2 weeks before the wedding, the first real confrontation erupted. Marcus arrived at my apartment unannounced, his expensive suit a stark contrast to the modest neighborhood. The door burst open with such force, I instinctively reverted to military training, my body tensing for potential conflict. "What game are you playing?" he demanded, his face a mixture of rage and desperation. Behind him, Olivia hovered uncertainly, her designer heels clicking against the worn linoleum floor. My living room was a testament to my life. Military commendations framed alongside family photos. A folded American flag from my final deployment, displayed prominently. Marcus had always avoided looking directly at these reminders of my service. "I'm not playing a game," I responded calmly. "I'm exercising my legal rights as the property owner." Olivia stepped forward, her voice dripping with condescension. "Do you have any idea what you're doing to Marcus's reputation, his career, his future?" She pulled out a folder, spreadsheets and wedding plans spilling onto my coffee table. "We've invested everything into this wedding." The irony wasn't lost on me. These were the same people who had deemed me too problematic to attend the very event they were now defending. Marcus began to explain the financial implications. The venue was non-refundable. The deposits, the catering contracts, the elaborate arrangements, all hung in precarious balance. His voice rose with each sentence, a desperation I'd never heard before. "You're destroying everything we've worked for," he shouted. "Everything I've built." I listened silently, remembering the countless nights I'd spent working multiple jobs to ensure he had opportunities. The scholarships I'd helped him secure, the endless support during his college years, the sacrifices that had gone unacknowledged. "Built?" I finally asked. "What exactly have you built, Marcus?" The question hung in the air, laden with years of unspoken truths. Marcus's facade began to crumble. Olivia's confident stance wavered. I could see the carefully constructed narrative starting to unravel. Through discreet investigations, I had uncovered the truth about Marcus's professional life. The prestigious consulting job was nothing more than an entry-level position. His income was a fraction of what he'd claimed. Olivia's family had been subsidizing their entire lifestyle, the expensive apartment, the luxury car, the social appearances. "I know about the financial arrangements," I said quietly. "I know about the loans, the family support. You've been living a lie. Marcus went pale. Olivia's carefully applied makeup seemed to crack under the sudden pressure. I pulled out a folder of my own. Bank statements, loan documents, employment verification, a comprehensive dossier that exposed the intricate web of deception. Each document was a precise testament to the truth, gathered with the same methodical approach I'd used during military intelligence operations. You wanted to erase me, I continued. To pretend that your success came from nowhere, that you emerged, fully formed, without the sacrifices of the family who raised you. The confrontation escalated. Marcus accused me of trying to ruin his life, of being a difficult, embarrassing presence he'd tried to escape. Olivia stood by, alternating between anger and fear. Your military service makes people uncomfortable, Marcus spat. Do you have any idea how hard I've worked to create a different image? I thought about my fellow veterans, the ones who returned from war with visible and invisible wounds, the ones who were treated as problems to be managed rather than heroes to be honored. Uncomfortable? I asked. Tell that to the soldiers who never came home. Tell that to the friends I lost defending the very freedoms that allow you to sit here and criticize me. The room fell silent. The weight of unspoken history pressed against the walls. I explained my conditions. If they wanted the wedding to proceed, certain things would need to change. I wasn't seeking revenge. I was demanding respect, a public acknowledgement of my service, a genuine conversation about family and sacrifice. Marcus and Olivia exchanged panicked glances. The wedding was just weeks away. Their entire social and financial structure hung in delicate balance. You have two choices, I said, my voice steady as a military command. Negotiate or lose everything you've planned. The power had shifted. No longer was I the marginalized mother, easily dismissed. I was a strategic opponent, someone who understood the art of negotiation, who knew exactly what leverage looked like. As they left, defeated and confused, I knew this was far from over. The real battle was just beginning. The week following our confrontation was a masterclass in strategic communication. I reached out to my network, fellow veterans, military support organizations, and a few carefully selected media contacts who understood the deeper narrative of veteran family dynamics. A local veteran support group became my unexpected ally. They saw beyond the personal drama, recognizing a broader issue of how society treats veterans, especially those who challenge comfortable narratives. My story wasn't just about a wedding or a mother-son conflict. It was about recognition, respect, and the often invisible struggles of military families. I discovered that Marcus had been spreading a carefully crafted narrative about me. To his social circle, I was portrayed as an unstable, overly dramatic mother trying to sabotage his perfect wedding. What he didn't know was that I was methodically building a counter-narrative, one documented piece of evidence at a time. My military intelligence background proved invaluable. I began collecting documentation, emails, financial records, correspondence that revealed the true nature of Marcus's relationship with his future in-laws. Each piece of information was a precision-guided weapon, waiting for the right moment to be deployed. A breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Olivia's father, initially supportive of Marcus, began to have reservations. The financial complications I'd introduced were causing more than just wedding day stress. The venue purchase had created a web of legal and financial complexities that couldn't be easily untangled. I received a call from Elena, my sister, who had been tracking the developing situation. They're panicking, she reported. Olivia's family is starting to ask questions about Marcus's actual financial situation. The truth was becoming impossible to hide. Marcus had been living a carefully constructed facade, a persona built on borrowed money and false promises. His consulting job was barely more than an entry-level position, his income a fraction of what he'd claimed. I didn't seek to destroy. I sought accountability. A local journalist who specialized in veteran stories became interested. She saw beyond the family drama, recognizing a broader narrative about veterans' experiences, societal expectations, and family dynamics. Our conversations were strategic, carefully framed to highlight the deeper issues at play. The veteran community rallied in ways Marcus could never have anticipated. Support groups, veteran advocacy organizations, local military networks, they began to amplify my story. Not as a tale of revenge, but as a narrative of resilience, of standing up against systemic marginalization. Marcus attempted to counterattack. He tried to paint me as unstable, as a mother who would go to extreme lengths to ruin her son's most important day. But each attempt only revealed more about his own character, his own insecurities. I received an unexpected call from the Silverleaf Club's previous owner. He was intrigued by the situation, surprised by the strategic manner in which I'd acquired the property. We talked for hours about real estate, about life, about the unexpected paths that lead us to critical moments. "You're not just fighting for a wedding," he observed. "You're fighting for something much larger." He was right. The financial implications began to mount. The venue purchase had created a complex legal situation that couldn't be easily resolved. Deposits, contracts, vendor agreements, each became a potential point of negotiation. Marcus's attempts to secure alternative venues failed. My purchase had been strategically timed, leaving few options for replacement. The wedding industry, typically so accommodating, found itself navigating unprecedented complications. Olivia's family began to see Marcus differently. The polished image he'd carefully constructed was crumbling. Financial records, employment verification, the true nature of his professional standing, all were coming to light. I wasn't seeking to humiliate. I was seeking transparency. A veteran support group helped me draft a public statement. Not an attack, but a nuanced exploration of family dynamics, of the challenges veterans face in reintegrating into civilian life. The statement wasn't about Marcus specifically, it was about a broader societal issue. The media began to take notice, not as a sensationalist story, but as a complex narrative about family, sacrifice, and the often invisible challenges of military service. Marcus's attempts to control the narrative were failing. Each move he made seemed to reveal more about his own insecurities, his own desperate attempt to distance himself from his roots. As the wedding date approached, the pressure continued to build. Not through direct confrontation, but through a carefully orchestrated series of revelations that made continued denial impossible. I sat in my apartment, surrounded by memories of service, of sacrifice. This was never about winning or losing. This was about truth. This was about respect. The next move was theirs, but I was ready, always ready. The day before the wedding arrived with a tension that could be cut with a knife. My phone rang constantly. Marcus, Olivia, her parents, distant relatives, all desperate, all seeking a resolution that seemed increasingly impossible. A certified letter arrived, sealed with official legal markings. Marcus had attempted a last-ditch legal maneuver to force me to release the venue. I opened it methodically, my hands steady, the same hands that had defused tension in war zones, that had guided young soldiers through impossible situations. The letter was a masterpiece of legal desperation. Accusations of intentional interference, claims of emotional distress, demands for immediate venue release. I couldn't help but smile. Every word was another nail in their own coffin. My veteran support network had been working overtime. A legal team specializing in veteran advocacy had been quietly reviewing every document, every communication. They saw what Marcus couldn't. This was no longer just a family dispute. This was about something much larger. Elena arrived that afternoon, bringing lunch and a formidable energy. My sister had always been my strongest ally, understanding the complexities of our family in ways others couldn't. "Are you ready?" she asked, setting down a bag of tamales from our favorite local restaurant. I thought about readiness. 23. Years of military service had taught me that being ready wasn't about having all the answers. It was about staying calm, strategic, prepared for any possibility. The phone rang. It was the local news station. They wanted to do a feature on veteran family dynamics inspired by my story. Not a hit piece, but a nuanced exploration of the challenges veterans face when returning to civilian life. "We want to highlight the invisible battles," the journalist explained. "The fights that happen long after the uniform comes off." I agreed to an interview, knowing this was about more than just my personal story. That evening, Marcus arrived unannounced. The door burst open with a force that would have triggered immediate defensive responses in a less controlled environment. But I was calm, calculated. "This ends now," he demanded, his expensive suit a stark contrast to the modest apartment that spoke of a lifetime of practical choices. Olivia stood behind him, her designer dress a shield, her perfectly applied makeup a mask of composure that was rapidly cracking. "What exactly are you proposing to end?" I asked, my voice as steady as my military training had taught me to be. The conversation that followed was a masterclass in family dysfunction. Marcus accused me of destroying his life, of ruining his wedding, of being an embarrassment. Each accusation was another layer of a narrative I refused to accept. "You've never understood," he shouted. "You've always been too much, too loud, too different, too military." I thought about the soldiers I'd served with, the ones who never came home, the ones who understood sacrifice in ways Marcus could never comprehend. "Different?" I asked quietly. "I'm different because I chose to serve, because I chose to protect people like you who take freedom for granted." Olivia's family had been tracking the situation closely. Their initial support for Marcus was rapidly evaporating. The financial complications, the legal challenges, the media attention, all were creating a perfect storm of exposure. I had documentation of everything. Marcus's inflated claims about his career, the financial support from Olivia's family, the elaborate facade he'd constructed. Each piece of evidence was a precise instrument of truth. "You wanted to erase me," I said. "To pretend that your success came from nowhere, that you emerged fully formed, without the sacrifices of the family who raised you." The room fell silent. The weight of years of unspoken tension pressed against the walls. Marcus made one final attempt, a proposal, a compromise. But it was too late. The narrative had shifted. No longer was I the marginalized mother to be pushed aside. I was a strategic opponent who understood exactly what was at stake. "You have two choices," I said, my voice as calm as a military command. "Negotiate genuinely or lose everything you've built." The power had completely shifted. Marcus and Olivia exchanged panicked glances. The wedding was less than 24 hours away. Their entire social and financial structure hung in a delicate balance. As they left, defeated and confused, I knew the real battle was just beginning. This wasn't about a wedding. This was about respect. This was about recognition. This was about the true meaning of family. The veteran support groups were preparing a press conference. The local media was gathering information. My story was becoming more than just a personal dispute. It was becoming a statement about veteran D. Experiences, about family dynamics, about the invisible battles that continue long after military service ends. I sat in my apartment, surrounded by memories of service, of sacrifice. The next move was theirs. But I was ready. Always ready. The wedding day arrived with a silence more deafening than any battlefield I'd ever experienced. The Silverleaf Club stood empty, a testament to strategic preparation and unbreakable resolve. My phone buzzed continuously, a symphony of desperate calls from family, friends, and curious onlookers. A local veteran advocacy group had been tracking the story. What had begun as a personal conflict had transformed into a national conversation about veteran family dynamics, societal expectations, and the true meaning of respect. The media coverage was unprecedented. Not a sensationalist exposé, but a nuanced exploration of the challenges veterans face when trying to reintegrate into civilian life. Journalists from national networks began reaching out, each seeking to understand the deeper narrative behind the venue purchase. I received a call from General Patricia Hartley, a retired 3-star general I had served under during my last deployment. "Rodriguez," she said, her voice as crisp as her military training, "you've started something bigger than yourself." She wasn't wrong. The story had become more than a family dispute. It was a statement about veteran visibility, about the often invisible battles that continue long after the uniform comes off. Financial investigations began to unravel Marcus's carefully constructed facade. His consulting job was exposed as nothing more than an entry-level position. The luxurious lifestyle he'd portrayed was a house of cards, supported entirely by Olivia's family's financial backing. Olivia's parents, initially supportive of Marcus, began to distance themselves. The legal and financial complications I'd introduced were more than just wedding day drama. They were a systematic exposure of decades of deception. Elena helped me navigate the media attention. My sister had always been my strongest ally, understanding the complexities of our family in ways others couldn't. We spent hours preparing statements, ensuring the narrative remained focused on broader issues of veteran recognition and family dynamics. Unexpected support came from fellow veterans. Support groups, advocacy organizations, and veteran networks began to amplify my story. Not as a tale of revenge, but as a powerful statement about respect, sacrifice, and the challenges of military families. A documentary filmmaker reached out. She was interested in creating a comprehensive exploration of veteran experiences, using our story as a central narrative. The project would go beyond our personal conflict, examining the broader societal challenges faced by veterans. Marcus attempted to counter narrative. Social media posts, desperate attempts to paint me as an unstable mother trying to sabotage his wedding. But each attempt only revealed more about his own insecurities, his own desperate attempt to distance himself from his roots. The legal implications began to mount. My strategic venue purchase had created a complex web of contractual and financial challenges. Deposits, vendor agreements, wedding contracts, each became a potential point of negotiation. I discovered that Marcus had been living a life built entirely on borrowed credibility. His job was less prestigious than he'd claimed. His income was a fraction of what he'd portrayed. Olivia's family had been subsidizing their entire lifestyle: the expensive apartment, the luxury car, the social appearances. A veteran support group helped me draft a comprehensive statement. Not an attack, but a nuanced exploration of family dynamics, of the challenges veterans face in reintegrating into civilian life. The statement wasn't about Marcus specifically. It was about a broader societal issue. The financial revelations were devastating. Marcus's attempts to secure alternative venues failed. My purchase had been strategically timed, leaving few options for replacement. The wedding industry found itself navigating unprecedented complications. I wasn't seeking to humiliate. I was seeking accountability. The veteran community rallied in ways Marcus could never have anticipated. Local chapters of veteran support organizations began sharing my story, not as a sensationalist tale, but as a powerful statement about respect, sacrifice, and family dynamics. My military intelligence background proved invaluable. I had documentation of everything: emails, financial records, correspondence that revealed the true nature of Marcus's relationships and claims. Each piece of information was a precisely aimed piece of evidence. Olivia's family began to see Marcus differently. The polished image he'd carefully constructed was crumbling. Financial records, employment verifications, the true nature of his professional standing, all were coming to light. The local Veteran Support Network organized a press conference, not to attack, but to discuss the broader issues of veteran recognition. I became an unexpected spokesperson for a movement larger than myself. As weeks passed, the consequences continued to unfold. Marcus's professional reputation was in tatters. The consulting firm he worked for began an internal investigation into his claims and representations. Elena helped me navigate the unexpected attention. We spent hours discussing the broader implications of our story, the importance of veteran visibility, the challenges of family dynamics. I thought about the soldiers I'd served with, the ones who never came home, the ones who understood sacrifice in ways Marcus could never comprehend. The venue remained a powerful symbol, not of destruction, but of resilience, not of revenge, but of accountability. As the dust began to settle, I realized this was never about winning or losing. This was about truth. This was about respect. This was about the true meaning of family. The next chapter was yet to be written. But I was ready, always ready. 6 months after the wedding that never was, my life had transformed in ways I could never have anticipated. The Silverleaf Club, once a symbol of conflict, had become a beacon of hope for veteran support initiatives. With the support of my veteran network, we transformed the venue into a comprehensive support center for veterans and their families. The documentary project gained momentum. Filmmaker Rachel Martinez had captured something far more profound than a simple family dispute. Her lens revealed the complex layers of veteran experiences, the invisible battles that continue long after military service ends. I discovered that Marcus's attempt to completely erase our family history had backfired spectacularly. The media attention had not only exposed his fabrications, but had also connected me with a broader community of veterans facing similar challenges of family disconnection and societal misunderstanding. Olivia's family had completely distanced themselves from Marcus. The financial investigations had revealed more than just his professional misrepresentations. They uncovered a pattern of deception that extended far beyond our personal conflict. Elena helped me navigate the unexpected opportunities that emerged. Speaking engagements, veteran support initiatives, media interviews. Each platform became a chance to address broader issues of veteran recognition and family dynamics. A breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Marcus's former employer contacted me. The internal investigation triggered by our conflict had uncovered significant discrepancies in his professional claims. His position was terminated, and legal proceedings were being considered for fraudulent representation. The veteran support network I had inadvertently built continued to grow. What had begun as a personal stand had transformed into a movement. Veterans from across the country reached out, sharing stories of similar struggles, of families that failed to understand their service and sacrifice. I received an invitation to speak at a national veterans conference. The theme was Invisible Battles, focusing on the challenges veterans face in reintegrating into civilian life. My story had become a powerful narrative of resilience and accountability. General Patricia Hartley became a mentor and ally. She saw the broader implications of our story, how institutional and familial expectations can marginalize veterans, especially women who have served. The Silverleaf Club transformed. No longer just a wedding venue, it became a comprehensive support center. We offered counseling services, job placement assistance, and family mediation for veterans. Each room told a story of service, of struggle, of ultimate triumph. Unexpected healing began to emerge. Other veterans started sharing their stories, finding strength in collective experience. The center became more than just a support facility. It was a community, a place of understanding and recognition. Marcus attempted to reach out several times. Desperate messages, emails, even a handwritten letter that spoke of regret and misunderstanding. But the damage was irreparable. His attempts at reconciliation rang hollow, revealing more about his desperation than any genuine remorse. The documentary gained national attention. Rachel Martinez had captured something profound: the complex dynamics of veteran families, the invisible wounds of service, the challenges of reintegration. Major networks began discussing the broader implications of our story. Financial investigations continued to unravel Marcus's carefully constructed life. His attempts to rebuild his professional reputation were systematically dismantled by the evidence we had collected. The consulting firm he had claimed to work for confirmed he had significantly misrepresented his position. I discovered a deeper purpose. The venue purchase was no longer about a single-family conflict. It had become a platform for veteran support, for telling stories that often went unheard. Elena helped me establish a scholarship program through the Silverleaf Center. We focused on supporting children of veterans, providing educational opportunities and mentorship for those who understood the unique challenges of military families. The Veteran Support Network expanded. What had begun as a personal stand had transformed into a national movement. Veterans from across the country reached out, sharing stories of similar struggles, of families that failed to understand their service and sacrifice. Press coverage evolved. No longer was this a story about a wedding venue. It was an exploration of veteran experiences, of family dynamics, of the true meaning of service and sacrifice. I thought often about the soldiers I'd served with, the ones who never came home, the ones who understood sacrifice in ways Marcus could never comprehend. Each veteran who found support through our center was a tribute to their memory. The Silverleaf Center became a symbol of resilience, not just for veterans, but for anyone who had been marginalized, misunderstood, pushed aside. We created support, groups, counseling services, job placement programs. As the year drew to a close, I reflected on the journey. What had begun as a personal conflict had transformed into something much larger. A movement of understanding, of recognition, of true respect. Elena would often joke that I had turned a family conflict into a national conversation, but we both understood the deeper truth. This was never about winning or losing. This was about visibility. This was about respect. This was about the true meaning of service. The next chapter was yet to be written, but I was ready, always ready. 2 years had passed since the wedding that never was. The Silverleaf Center had become a beacon of hope for veterans and their families, a testament to the power of resilience and strategic transformation. A letter arrived on a crisp autumn morning. The handwriting was unfamiliar, yet something about it stirred a deep, complicated emotion. It was postmarked from a small town in Colorado, addressed in careful, almost hesitant script. The contents were unexpected. Not from Marcus, but from a young veteran named Jake Thompson. He had been part of a support group at the Silverleaf Center, struggling with his own family disconnection after returning from military service. Jake's story was different, yet hauntingly familiar. A Marine who had served multiple tours, he had returned home to find his family struggling to understand his experiences. The invisible wounds of service had created a chasm that seemed impossible to bridge. Our documentary had become more than just a film. It was a lifeline for veterans across the country, a narrative that spoke to the complex dynamics of military service and family relationships. General Patricia Hartley continued to be a mentor and ally. She had been instrumental in expanding the Silverleaf Center's reach, connecting us with national veteran support networks and government resources. Elena had become the center's administrative director, her organizational skills and passion for veteran support transforming our initial vision into a comprehensive support system. We had created scholarship programs, mental health resources, and job placement initiatives that went far beyond our original expectations. The letter from Jake was an invitation, not just to share his story, but to introduce someone important. His younger sister, Sarah, had been struggling to understand his experiences, to bridge the gap that military service had created in their family. I thought about my own journey with Marcus. The wounds of family disconnection were deep, complex, layered with unspoken expectations and misunderstandings. Rachel Martinez's documentary had taken on a life of its own. What had begun as the exploration of our personal conflict had become a powerful narrative about veteran experiences, family dynamics, and the true meaning of service. The Silverleaf Center had become more than a support facility. It was a community, a place of healing, of understanding. Veterans from across the country found support, connection, a place to share their stories without judgment. Unexpected connections continued to emerge. A network of veteran families, of supporters, of individuals who understood the complex landscape of military service and civilian life. Marcus remained a distant memory. His attempts at reconciliation had been half-hearted, revealing more about his own desperation than any genuine understanding. The legal and professional consequences of his actions continued to unfold. A breakthrough came from an unexpected source. The National Veterans Conference where I had spoken became a turning point. Conversations about family dynamics, about the invisible wounds of service, began to shift institutional understanding. Jake's letter spoke of hope, not just for his own family, but for veterans across the country. The Silverleaf Center had become a model for veteran support, a beacon of understanding and reconnection. Elena helped me prepare for Jake's visit. We had learned that every veteran's story was unique, yet connected by common threads of sacrifice, struggle, and resilience. The media attention had transformed. No longer was this a story about a conflict. It was an exploration of veteran experiences, of family dynamics, of the true meaning of service and sacrifice. I thought often about the soldiers I'd served with, the ones who never came home, the ones who understood sacrifice in ways that civilian life could never fully comprehend. The scholarship program we had established became a source of profound hope. Children of veterans found support, mentorship, a chance to understand the complex legacy of military service. General Hartley continued to be a powerful ally. Her support had been instrumental in expanding our reach, in creating a national conversation about veteran support and family dynamics. As Jake's visit approached, I reflected on the journey. What had begun as a personal conflict had transformed into a movement of understanding, of recognition, of true respect. The day Jake arrived was crisp and clear. He walked into the Silverleaf Center with a mixture of hesitation and hope. His sister Sarah was with him, her eyes wide with a combination of nervousness and anticipation. We sat in the center's main conference room, surrounded by photographs of veterans, by stories of service and sacrifice. Jake began to share his story, his voice steady but filled with emotion. Sarah listened, her understanding growing with each word. I saw in their interaction a reflection of my own journey with Marcus, a reminder that healing was possible, that understanding could bridge even the deepest divides. The Silverleaf Center had become more than a support facility. It was a sanctuary of hope, a place where veterans could find understanding, support, and a path forward. As the afternoon light filtered through the windows, I realized that our story was far from over. Each veteran who found support, each family that reconnected, was a continuation of a narrative larger than ourselves. The next chapter was yet to be written, but we were ready, always ready. 3 years after the wedding that never was, the Silverleaf Center had become a national symbol of veteran advocacy and family support. Our story had transcended personal conflict, evolving into a movement that challenged societal perceptions of military service and family dynamics. The United States Congress invited me to testify about veteran reintegration challenges. What had begun as a personal stand had transformed into a national conversation about the invisible battles veterans face long after they return home. Senator Rebecca Chen, herself a veteran, introduced groundbreaking legislation inspired by our work. The Veteran Family Support and Reintegration Act aimed to provide comprehensive support for veterans struggling with family disconnection, mental health challenges, and professional reintegration. Rachel Martinez's documentary had become a catalyst for change. Screenings across universities, military bases, and community centers sparked profound conversations about the true cost of military service, not just in terms of physical sacrifice, but emotional and familial toll. General Patricia Hartley helped draft the congressional testimony. Her decades of military leadership provided crucial context to the systemic challenges veterans face. Together, we crafted a narrative that was both personal and universally significant. The Silverleaf Center had expanded beyond our wildest imagination. What began as a venue purchase had transformed into a comprehensive support network with centers in 12 states. Each location became a sanctuary for veterans and their families, offering counseling, job placement, educational support, and family mediation services. Unexpected allies emerged from across the political spectrum. Veterans advocacy groups, mental health professionals, family counselors, all recognized the profound impact of our work. A breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Marcus, now completely removed from our lives, had become a case study in professional and personal failure. His attempts to rebuild his reputation had failed spectacularly, serving as a cautionary tale about the dangers of fabrication and family disconnection. The scholarship program we established began to bear fruit. Children of veterans found support, mentorship, and opportunities that seemed impossible before. Each scholarship recipient became a testament to the power of understanding and support. National media coverage evolved. What had once been a story about a family conflict had become a comprehensive exploration of veteran experiences, family dynamics, and societal expectations. Elena had become a national speaker on veteran family support. Her ability to articulate the complex challenges faced by military families resonated with audiences across the country. Our personal journey had become a universal narrative of resilience and hope. The Silverleaf Center's research division began publishing groundbreaking studies on veteran family dynamics. We collaborated with leading universities, creating a comprehensive understanding of the challenges veterans face in reintegrating into civilian life. Jake Thompson, the veteran who had first reached out years ago, became a key advocate. His work with the center helped develop support programs for younger veterans struggling with family relationships and professional reintegration. Congressional hearings became a platform for systemic change. The testimony we provided highlighted the critical need for comprehensive support for veterans beyond traditional medical and educational benefits. Our network expanded internationally. Veterans from other countries reached out, recognizing the universal challenges of military service and family dynamics. The documentary had become more than a film. It was a movement, a catalyst for change, a powerful narrative that challenged societal perceptions of military service. Senator Chen's legislation passed with overwhelming bipartisan support. The Veteran Family Support and Reintegration Act provided unprecedented resources for veterans struggling with family disconnection, mental health challenges, and professional reintegration. General Hartley continued to be a powerful advocate. Her leadership helped bridge the gap between military experience and civilian understanding, creating a more comprehensive support system for veterans. The Silverleaf Center became a model for veteran support globally. International delegations visited to understand our approach, our methodology of holistic family and individual support. Our scholarship program expanded, providing not just financial support but comprehensive mentorship for children of veterans. Each recipient became a bridge between military and civilian experiences. The media narrative had completely transformed. No longer was this a story about a conflict, but a powerful exploration of veteran experiences, of family dynamics, of the true meaning of service and sacrifice. I reflected on the journey that had brought us here, What had begun as a personal stand against family marginalization had become a national movement of understanding and support. The research we conducted revealed profound insights into veteran experiences, family disconnection, professional challenges, the invisible wounds of service, all became subjects of comprehensive study and support. Our network of support continued to grow. Veterans from across the country found connection, understanding, a place to share their stories without judgment or fear. As I stood on the stage at the National Veterans Conference, looking out at a sea of supportive faces, I thought about the soldiers I'd served with, the ones who never came home, the ones who understood sacrifice in ways that civilian life could never fully comprehend. The next chapter was yet to be written, but we were ready, always ready. 5 years had passed since the wedding that never was. The world had changed, and so had I. The Silverleaf Center stood as a testament to transformation, not just of a venue, but of an entire approach to veteran support and family dynamics. On a quiet autumn morning, an unexpected envelope arrived. The return address was from a small rehabilitation center in Colorado, Marcus's last known location. I recognized the handwriting immediately, though it seemed different now. Weaker, more uncertain. The letter was a confession of sorts, not a plea for forgiveness, but a raw accounting of his life's trajectory. Marcus detailed the complete unraveling of his fabricated life, the lost job, the collapsed marriage, the financial ruin that followed our confrontation. Elena read the letter with me, her hand resting on mine. We had long since processed the pain, transformed it into something constructive. The Silverleaf Center had become our true legacy, a living testament to resilience and hope. Marcus wrote about his attempts to rebuild, how the exposure of his professional fabrications had destroyed his career, how Olivia had left him, unable to sustain the elaborate facade he had constructed. He described a journey of self-reflection that seemed almost unrecognizable. General Patricia Hartley had been tracking his trajectory. Through her military and professional networks, she had maintained a distant watch on Marcus's life. His story had become a cautionary tale about the dangers of inauthenticity, of running from one's roots. The documentary had continued to create ripple effects. Rachel Martinez had won multiple awards, not just for the film's artistic merit, but for its profound social impact. Universities were now using it as a case study in veteran experiences and family dynamics. I thought about the journey that had brought us here. What had begun as a personal conflict had transformed into a national movement of understanding and support for veterans. The Silverleaf Center had expanded beyond our wildest imagination. 12 centers across the country, each providing comprehensive support for veterans and their families. Job placement programs, mental health resources, family mediation services. We had created a holistic support system. Marcus's letter revealed the depth of his fall. He had lost his professional credentials, his marriage, his social standing. The fabrications that had once seemed like a pathway to success had become his ultimate undoing. Our scholarship program had become a beacon of hope. Dozens of children of veterans had found support, education, and opportunity. Each success story was a reminder of the true meaning of service and sacrifice. The congressional legislation inspired by our work had created unprecedented support for veterans. Senator Rebecca Chen continued to champion veteran causes, using our story as a powerful narrative of transformation. Jake Thompson, the veteran who had first reached out years ago, had become a key advocate. He now worked directly with the Silverleaf Center, developing support programs for younger veterans struggling with family relationships and professional reintegration. Marcus wrote about his current situation, a small job in a local hardware store, living in a modest apartment, trying to rebuild his life. The bravado was gone, replaced by a raw honesty that felt almost unfamiliar. Elena and I discussed the letter carefully, not with anger, but with a detached understanding. We had long since moved beyond the personal pain, transformed it into something more meaningful. The national conversation about veteran experiences had fundamentally shifted. Our work had created a new understanding of the challenges veterans face, not just in military service, but in reintegrating into civilian life. General Hartley suggested we meet with Marcus, not for reconciliation, but for understanding. 2. Complete the narrative arc to provide closure. The Silverleaf Center had become more than a support facility. It was a living, breathing testament to the power of resilience, of transformation, of turning personal pain into collective healing. Our research division continued to publish groundbreaking studies on veteran family dynamics. Collaborations with leading universities had created a comprehensive understanding of the challenges veterans face. Marcus's letter was a reminder of the journey, how far we had come, how much we had transformed. What had once been a source of deep pain had become a catalyst for national change. The congressional support we had helped generate had created unprecedented resources for veterans. Mental health support, family mediation, professional reintegration programs, we had fundamentally changed the landscape of veteran support. I thought about the soldiers I'd served with, the ones who never came home, the ones who understood sacrifice in ways that civilian life could never fully comprehend. Jake Thompson arrived at the Silverleaf Center, bringing with him a new group of veterans seeking support. Each face told a story of challenge, of resilience, of hope. As we prepared to meet, with Marcus I reflected on the journey, the pain, the transformation, the unexpected path that had brought us here. The National Veterans Conference was approaching. Senator Chen would be speaking, highlighting the continued impact of our work. The Silverleaf Center had become a model of comprehensive veteran support. Our scholarship recipients continued to inspire. Children of veterans finding opportunity, breaking cycles of disconnection, creating new narratives of hope and possibility. The media narrative had completely transformed. No longer was this a story about a conflict, but a powerful exploration of veteran experiences, of family dynamics, of the true meaning of service and sacrifice. The next chapter was yet to be written, but we were ready, always ready. 6 years. After the wedding that never was, the landscape of our lives had transformed beyond recognition. The Silverleaf Center had become a national symbol of hope, resilience, and veteran support. A living testament to the power of turning personal pain into collective healing. The meeting with Marcus was carefully orchestrated. Not a reunion, but a restorative dialogue facilitated by professional mediators who specialized in veteran family dynamics. General Patricia Hartley had recommended the approach, understanding the complexity of our history. We chose a neutral location, a small conference room at one of our Silverleaf Center branches. The walls were adorned with photographs of veterans, of families reconnected, of hope restored. Each image told a story of transformation. Marcus looked different. Gone was the polished veneer, the carefully constructed facade. He sat hunched, smaller somehow, his previous bravado completely stripped away. Years of professional and personal collapse had etched lines of humility across his face. Elena sat beside me, her presence a source of strength and perspective. We had long since processed the pain, transformed it into something far more meaningful than personal grievance. The mediator, Dr. Elena Ramirez, was herself a veteran and family therapist. Her approach was neither accusatory nor conciliatory, simply a path toward understanding. This isn't about forgiveness, Dr. Ramirez explained. It's about recognition, understanding, breaking cycles of misunderstanding. Marcus spoke first. His voice was different, no longer the confident manipulator, but a man broken and reassembled. He spoke about the consequences of his actions, the complete unraveling of the life he had constructed. The documentary had become more than a film. It was a catalyst for national conversations about veteran experiences, about family dynamics, about the true meaning of service and sacrifice. Our scholarship program had become a beacon of hope. Dozens of children of veterans had found support, education, and opportunity through the Silverleaf Center. Each success story was a reminder of the transformative power of understanding. Marcus detailed his journey, the loss of his professional credentials, his marriage, his social standing. The fabrications that had once seemed like a pathway to success had become his ultimate undoing. Senator Rebecca Chen had been tracking our story. The legislation inspired by our experience had created unprecedented support for veterans, transforming institutional approaches to veteran reintegration. Jake Thompson, who had become a key advocate for the Silverleaf Center, sat quietly in the background. His presence was a testament to the healing possible when veterans find true support. Marcus spoke about his current situation, a small job in a local hardware store, living in a modest apartment, trying to rebuild his life. The bravado was completely gone, replaced by a raw honesty that felt almost unfamiliar. I listened with a detachment that surprised even myself. The pain had long since been transformed into purpose. The Silverleaf Center had become our true legacy, a living, breathing testament to the power of resilience. Dr. Ramirez guided the conversation, helping Marcus articulate the deep-rooted misconceptions that had driven his actions. The fear of being associated with military service, the desperate attempt to create a sanitized version of family history. Our research division had published groundbreaking studies on veteran family dynamics. Collaborations with leading universities had created a comprehensive understanding of the challenges veterans face in reintegration. Marcus spoke about the moment he realized the extent of his betrayal, not during the initial conflict, but in the years of professional and personal collapse that followed. How the facade he had constructed had become his ultimate prison. The national conversation about veteran experiences had fundamentally shifted. Our work had created a new understanding of the challenges veterans face, not just in military service, but in reintegrating into civilian life. Elena shared our journey, how we had transformed personal pain into a national movement of support and understanding. The Silverleaf Center was more than an organization. It was a living proof of resilience. Marcus's hands trembled as he spoke about the letter he had written. Not a plea for forgiveness, but an attempt at honest accounting, the complete unraveling of the life he had constructed. Jake Thompson shared his own story of family reconnection, providing a powerful counterpoint to Marcus's narrative. A testament to the possibility of healing, of understanding. The meeting was not about resolution, but about recognition. Understanding the deep-rooted misconceptions that tear families apart, that marginalize veterans' experiences. Our scholarship, recipients continued to inspire. Children of veterans finding opportunity, breaking cycles of disconnection, creating new narratives of hope and possibility. As the meeting concluded, there was no dramatic reconciliation. No tearful embrace, just a profound understanding of the complex dynamics that had brought us to this moment. The Silverleaf Center had become a model of comprehensive veteran support. Not just a facility, but a movement of healing, of understanding, of transformation. I thought about the soldiers I'd served with, the ones who never came home, the ones who understood sacrifice in ways that civilian life could never fully comprehend. The next chapter was yet to be written, but we were ready. Always ready. 7 years had passed since the wedding that never was. The Silverleaf Center had become more than an organization. It was a movement, a testament to the transformative power of resilience, understanding, and hope. On a crisp autumn morning, I stood on the stage of our national conference, surrounded by veterans, families, supporters, and advocates who had become our extended family. The journey that began with a single act of defiance had reshaped national conversations about veteran support, family dynamics, and the true meaning of service. Rachel Martinez's documentary had won multiple international awards, becoming a cornerstone of veteran studies in universities across the globe. What had begun as our personal story had become a universal narrative of hope and transformation. Senator Rebecca Chen introduced groundbreaking legislation that expanded veteran support beyond traditional boundaries. The Veteran Family Reconnection Act provided comprehensive resources for veterans struggling with family disconnection, mental health challenges, and professional reintegration. Jake Thompson, who had first reached out years ago, now led our national outreach program. His journey from a struggling veteran to a national advocate embodied the transformative power of supportive communities. Elena stood beside me, as she always had. Our sister bond had become the foundation of the Silverleaf Center, a living testament to the power of unconditional support and collective resilience. General Patricia Hartley received a Lifetime Achievement Award for her work in veteran advocacy. Her speech traced the evolution of veteran support, highlighting how personal stories like ours had reshaped institutional understanding. Our scholarship program had supported over 500 children of veterans, providing educational opportunities, mentorship, and hope. Each recipient represented a bridge between military service and civilian life, breaking cycles of misunderstanding and disconnection. Marcus remained a distant memory, a cautionary tale of the dangers of denying one's roots. His brief appearance in our lives had become a catalyst for profound change, though he was no longer an active part of our narrative. The Silverleaf Center now operated 12 comprehensive support centers across the country. Each location was more than a facility. It was a sanctuary of healing, of understanding, of transformation. International delegations began studying our model of veteran support. What had begun as a personal stand had become a global movement of recognition and support. Our research division continued to publish groundbreaking studies on veteran family dynamics. Collaborations with leading universities had created a comprehensive understanding of the challenges veterans face in reintegration. The national conversation about veteran experiences had fundamentally shifted. No longer were veterans seen as problems to be managed, but as heroes to be supported, understood, and celebrated. I reflected on the journey that had brought us here. The pain, the conflict, the unexpected transformation. Each moment had been a stepping stone to something greater than ourselves. Jake Thompson shared the stage with me, presenting our latest initiative, a comprehensive digital support platform for veterans worldwide. Technology had become our newest tool in creating connections, providing support, breaking down barriers. Our documentary had been translated into multiple languages, reaching veterans and their families across continents. The universal language of resilience knew no boundaries. The scholarship recipients who had gone through our program were now leaders in their own right. Doctors, educators, advocates, each carrying forward the legacy of service and understanding. Senator Chen announced expanded federal funding for veteran support programs, directly inspired by the work of the Silverleaf Center. Our personal story had become a catalyst for systemic change. As I looked out over the audience, I saw faces of hope, of resilience, of transformation. Veterans who had found support, families reconnected, lives rebuilt. General Hartley's closing remarks resonated through the conference hall. "This is not an ending," she said. "This is a beginning, a new understanding of service, of family, of what it means to truly support those who have sacrificed everything." The Silverleaf Center had become more than an organization. It was a movement, a community, a beacon of hope for veterans and their families. I thought about the soldiers I'd served with, the ones who never came home, the ones who understood sacrifice in ways that civilian life could never fully comprehend. Call to action. To everyone listening, your story matters. Whether you're a veteran, a family member, or someone who wants to make a difference, we invite you to be part of this journey. Subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories of resilience, transformation, and hope. Hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest videos, support initiatives, and ways you can make a difference in the lives of veterans and their families. Follow us on social media, YouTube, Silverleaf Veterans. Support Instagram, @Silverleaf Veterans Facebook. Silverleaf Veterans Support Center. Donate, volunteer, share our stories. Together, we can continue to break down barriers, challenge misconceptions, and support those who have sacrificed everything for our freedom. The next chapter is waiting to be written, and we are ready, always ready.